What's up guys, this is Demise here, and today I'm going to be bringing you another Call of Duty Modern Warfare video. The topic of conversation today is perks, gun perks, and field upgrades. And as always, if you guys like this video, hit that like button, see if we can get 10 likes on this video. If we do, I will put out another Modern Warfare video the next day. Also, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If I can get 1,000 subscribers before the launch of Modern Warfare, I will be giving away a free copy. Now I know that's a big goal, but I believe you guys can do it. Alright, starting off first, we're going to be talking about the perks. And starting off the perks, we're going to be talking about Slot 1. In Slot 1 this year, at least at this time, we know of 5 perks. And to begin with, we're going to talk about Double Time. This triples the duration of Super Sprint, and you fully refresh Super Sprint when you get a kill. Now this is another thing that we haven't seen in Call of Duty yet, but there's actually 2 different tiers of sprinting. Your regular sprint or kind of a slower sprint, we're going to have unlimited of that. However, there's a second tier sprint, and that's going to be limited, and this perk is going to triple that duration and allow you to sprint around the map a little bit faster. I see this being really good for more of the objective game modes and maybe your big team battles because the map is so large. I think this perk is going to be very circumstantial. The next perk for the Slot 1 is EOD. The description of this one is take reduced damage from non-kill streak explosives and fire, hack enemy claymores, proximity mines, and C4. So this is kind of a variation of Flak Jacket from other Call of Duties. However, it does have one difference. It does allow you to hack those enemy equipments. Like if you're playing Domination, Capture the Flag, for example. This might be a perk to help keep you alive a little bit longer. A returning perk in the Slot 1 is Scavenger. You all know what this one does. You resupply ammo from dead players. I personally have always loved Scavenger because I hate running out of ammo. However, in recent years I have gotten better about picking up weapons off the ground as I find them. The next perk is another permutation to something we already had before, and that is the Tracker perk. This one is enemies leave behind trails and death markers. Increase crouch movement speed by 30%. So if you guys remember from the Black Ops series, we had the Tracker perk where you could see the footsteps of the enemy as you're going through the map. With this, they have basically also included Sulker, allowing you to have increased movement speed while you're crouched around the map, not making as much noise. I feel like this perk is going to be really good for your S&D type maps with a new game mode that they mentioned, Cyber Attack. And the last perk in the Slot 1 is Tune Up. Tune Up increases the charge rate of field upgrades by 50%. Field upgrades are new to the Call of Duty series, and we're going to be touching on them later when we talk about those in particular, but this one increases their charge rate by 50%, so just keep that in mind. That's it for Slot 1, so let's start talking about Slot 2. These are actually extremely powerful. I think this is the most powerful slot. And of course, to begin, we have to talk about Ghost. Ghost is undetectable by UAVs, radar drones, heartbeat sensors, and high alert. You also get to hide the death markers of the enemies that you kill. Now in recent years, you have had to maintain your movement in order for Ghost to work. However, that is not mentioned anywhere inside of this perk this year. The true power of Ghost is back. And to be quite frank, that's a little terrifying. However, once again, we're going to have to kind of wait and see how this works in the beta and in the full release of the game, but I feel like this is going to be a perk that almost everybody is running, especially with UAVs and personal radars being so powerful. Not only powerful, but also very prominent. With people not having that minimap, they're going to be calling in UAVs like crazy, and having Ghosts being able to stay off of that radar, maybe running a silencer, is going to be super strong. The second perk in Slot 2 is another one that we have in previous Call of Duties all the way back to Modern Warfare 2, and that is Hardline. Your kill streaks cost 1 less kill. I'll be curious to see how this interacts with both the score streaks and the specialist, but again, that's a question I think we're going to have to answer during the beta. If you guys haven't seen my previous video, I'm going to go ahead and put a card up in the top right for that. It is all about the kill streaks, score streaks, the specialists in Modern Warfare. Next up is probably the most controversial perk that I've seen the community kind of ranting over, and that is Kill Chain. This is kill streaks earned in your current life, earn kill credit for other kill streaks. This is kind of back to how it worked in Modern Warfare 2. Basically, you would get your Harrier, that would get you your Chopper Gunner, which would then in turn end up getting you your Nuke, about 60% of the time. Without this perk, kill streaks will not earn you other kill streaks. I think this is an interesting take in preventing the game from turning into Modern Warfare 2, where if one team got any lower streak, they basically got their full set of streaks, and they just were able to completely destroy the other team. Now, I understand, that was a lot of fun, and you just got to utterly just run over the other team. However, that's not very fun for the other team. So, that's still possible. However, you're just going to have to use the perk. Another one that we should be very familiar with is Overkill. This allows you to carry 2 primary weapons. If you don't know, this means you can trade in your pistol for another assault rifle, another shotgun. Overkill is one of those perks that sometimes I would use, especially if I was going for camos and I knew I needed so many kills with gun A and I could just switch to gun B and get the other kills if I needed to. But in this game, with the ability to change out weapons mid-game, change out attachments, I'm not sure whether or not this perk is going to be one of those that I would run very often. And the last perk in slot 2 is Restock. This allows you to recharge equipment over 30 seconds. Now what this kind of sounds like to me is it's going to basically turn your grenades and your equipment slot into something like Overwatch, where it's going to slowly charge over time. I also feel like in objective game modes this could become very strong, with grenade spam, knife spam, etc. Especially if you have somebody that's camping up in a building and they're just constantly putting down claymores or proximity mines to watch their back. This perk is going to be definitely for that playstyle, and I feel like that's going to be something that kind of bugs me. Of course, this is not final. This is not the final build of the game. They could always tweak these numbers. And again, they're going to be looking at the data from the beta. Alright, moving on to slot number 3. And the first perk that I see in slot 3 is Amped. This is faster weapon swap and rocket launcher reload speed. Now this is going to be very helpful if you're getting those kill streaks just absolutely raining down on your team. You're going to be able to reload your launcher faster and take out those kill streaks as quickly as possible. Also, the second piece of the perk is it does allow you to switch weapons faster. I can see this being a favorite for snipers who like to switch or have a swap class, but for me, I don't know. Most of the time, if I don't kill them with my primary weapon, they're going to end up killing me. Only on rare occasions do I end up pulling out my pistol. The second perk for slot 3 is Battle Hardened. This reduces the strength of enemy flash, stun, and EMP effects. Once again, this should sound very familiar. This is something we've seen in multiple Call of Duties, especially in recent years. This is basically your tac mask. Flash grenades don't flash you as much and don't last as long, and the same goes for stun. Also, this perk in and of itself confirms that we are going to have EMP grenades in the game. Moving on, we have Cold Blooded. This perk makes you undetectable by AI targeting system and thermal optics, and you are immune to snapshot grenades. Now, snapshot grenades is something new, and it's actually going to be probably part of a different video. And another perk that's kind of interesting in slot 3 is something called High Alert. High Alert makes it where your vision pulses when enemies outside of your view see you. However, if you remember from before, the Ghost perk, if you're rocking High Alert and they're rocking Ghost, your vision will not pulse when they look at you. This is kind of an interesting counter to High Alert, and I think it makes the Ghost perk even more powerful. And the fifth perk that we know about in the slot 3 is called Shrapnel. This one allows you to spawn with an extra piece of lethal equipment, and explosive damage delays enemy health regeneration. So basically, this perk allows you to have an extra grenade, and then any of those grenades that you throw, then make it where that enemy can't regen their health as quick. Since in this game, unlike Black Ops 4, health regeneration is automatic and it is over time. And the last perk I'd like to talk about in slot 3 is Spotter. This allows you to see enemy equipment, field upgrades, and kill streaks through walls. Also allows you to mark them for your team by looking at them while aiming down sights. I think this is a great addition to a perk that we've seen before. The ability to spot these equipment for your teammates when they're not rocking Spotter is a great support perk. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up all of the perks that we know about currently in this build of Call of Duty. If you haven't already, please leave a comment down below with what perks that you're looking forward to, or maybe even not looking forward to, and then also any suggestions for future videos. And next, we're going to talk about gun perks. Now, gun perks are something we haven't seen in Call of Duty. They are perks, obviously, that go to your weapons. Such things as like fast melee, make it burst fire, sleight of hand. We're going to be talking about these all individually. And one of the things that I'm curious about is if I drop my weapon with my gun perk and someone else picks it up, do they also get that gun perk? Is it tied to the weapon or is it tied to the character? Again, this is something we're going to have to play around when it comes to beta time or maybe even full release, but I think this is actually a really good idea for Call of Duty. So to begin, we have Presence of Mind, also known as Infinite Breath. This is nothing new to Call of Duty. We actually see this usually called Iron Lungs. It's been a perk all the way since Call of Duty 4, at least that I can remember, and it was even seen in Blackout. And the description under this perk is just longer breath duration. Next up is Fast Melee. This increases your melee speed. Now at this time, there hasn't been any combat knives or other melee weapons added to the game, but if it turns out that a melee weapon is a primary slot, I think this would be your best bet. And the third perk that we see is called Burst. This is kind of what you would imagine. It changes the fire mode to a 3-round burst. Now interestingly, there's another one called Burst Fire Enhance. In the build of the games that they were using at the multiplayer reveal, this was actually 2 separate perks, but to me this actually sounds like more of a pro for the burst fire. So if you remember back from Modern Warfare 2, you'd have Sleight of Hands and then you used it enough and you got Sleight of Hands Pro. Burst Fire Enhanced sounds like the pro version of Burst, because it changes the fire mode to 3-round bursts, but with improved fire rate. Now we don't know right now whether or not, or how much it improves the fire rate of the bullets actually coming out of the weapon, or whether or not it just decreases the burst delay between each burst. Further testing is obviously needed, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. The next gun perk I'd like to talk about is stance training. This increases your accuracy when you're either crouched or prone. I think this is another perk that's kind of promoting the playstyle of staying in one spot, or playing super sneaky, super tactical, kind of campy playstyle. I honestly would like to see more perks that kind of promote that run and gun playstyle as well. Speaking of the run and gun playstyle, the next perk is called Sleight of Hand, and this increases your reload speed. Ever since Modern Warfare 2, this perk has been a crutch perk for me. In all the Call of Duties, whether or not it's an attachment or a perk, I love being able to reload quickly. And honestly, I'll probably be running this perk on every weapon I can. For those of you who love grinding for prestige or getting up there as quickly as possible, the next perk is probably for you. It's called Mo Money, and you get extra XP for headshots. The next perk is kind of interesting. It actually changes the type of ammunition that your weapon will be using. It's called Frangible, or Wounding, also known as Shrapnel Shots. Now this perk is very similar to Shrapnel that we've seen in perk slot 3, except it affects your weapons instead of your explosives. And the last gun perk that has been confirmed is FMJ. FMJ, for those who don't know, stands for Full Metal Jacket, and the description is it has increased bullet penetration and damage. In previous Call of Duties, FMJ I would really only run on my light machine guns or maybe my sniper rifles, for those guns that I really want to punch through some thicker materials in order to get those kills. Alright, that does it for all the gun perks that have been confirmed. However, there are a few that have been rumored. For starters, one that has been rumored is Skulker. You remember this from Black Ops 4, and this is just increased to crouch walk speed. However, this gun perk may have been trashed in lieu of the tracker perk that we've seen in slot 1 that also gives a increase to crouch move speed by 30%. It would be kind of interesting to run a class that has both of them just to see whether or not you're scooting around like full sprint while crouched. Another one that's been rumored is the bayonet, or just a knife on the end of your weapon. This honestly feels kind of old school World War II, and I would feel like this may have been trashed just to kind of keep consistent with the time and the era that they're working with. Next up is Supersonic, which shoots bullets that daze enemies. Now honestly, this perk seems super strong if you're able to blur vision or daze enemies as they're getting shot or even shot by. This feels very similar to like in Battlefield when you're getting shot behind cover and your vision blurs. It might be interesting to see it in the game though. Something else that might be interesting to see in the game is our next perk, and that's called Ricochet. This is when bullets bounce off the environment. Now this is an aspect of war that we've never really had to consider in a Call of Duty arena shooter, so I'd be really interested to see how much damage these ricochet bullets do and what objects we can actually ricochet off of. And last in the gun perks that have been rumored is Glacial. This slows enemies when they're shot. Both Glacial and Supersonic seem like they almost have their beginnings inside of Apex Legends, because if you didn't know, different ammo types will affect the player differently. And in the new Modern Warfare crew, a few of them did come from Respawn, the makers of Apex Legends. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see if any of these rumored, maybe perks, make it into the game. The last topic I want to talk about today is field upgrades. Now the Call of Duty community has been very apprehensive when it comes to field upgrades. Coming off of a couple of years of specialists being inside Call of Duty, it's understandable. However, Infinity Ward has made every indication that this is not how this is going to work. If anything, you could compare them to the specialist abilities that we got in the game, non-lethals. And to start things off, I'd like to talk about the field upgrade munitions box. Its recharge rate is medium, and its description is you deploy a box of ammo, grenades, and weapons for you and your teammates. Shoot at your own risk. To me, this is another play from Battlefield, where you can throw down the ammo boxes for your teammates to resupply them with ammunition so they can keep fighting. Also, this is the only field upgrade that has a recharge rate of medium. All of the other ones that we're going to be looking at, it's either a recharge rate of slow or fast. One of the most interesting pieces of the munitions box is that if you shoot it, it explodes. There's only one YouTuber that I've seen that actually did this at the multiplayer reveal and got footage of it, and that is Prestigious Key. So the footage you're seeing right now is his gameplay, and I'm going to have a link to his channel in the description. The next field upgrade is the Recon Drone. Its recharge rate is slow, and its description is a remote-controlled drone that marks enemies, equipment, and vehicles in the world. Now this drone is something that we've seen in the multiplayer reveal trailer. If you guys haven't seen my video on that breakdown, I'm going to go ahead and put a card in the top right for that video. But as I did mention, this feels like something that I won't use very often. This takes me way too much out of the battle, and yes, I may be providing my team with valuable information, but I can't defend myself. And if you're a sniper, you're going to like this next field upgrade. Tactical Insertion is back. Its recharge rate is fast, and its description is, it marks the location of your next respawn point. Now I know in other Modern Warfare titles, this was very popular in the sniping community. It allowed you to maintain your spawn close to the objective, allowing for those large kill streaks and large kill feeds. However, we did notice that it really kind of messed up the flow in the map. Respawns were notoriously bad around a whole bunch of people running Tactical Insertion. Next up is the one that I have the most concern with, and that is stopping power rounds. The recharge rate on this one is slow, and the description is that it reloads your gun with stopping power rounds that deal extra damage. Now this is one magazine that you get to reload this with, and I will say that in the multiplayer reveal, it didn't seem like when they did have stopping power, it did much more damage than the base weapons. But this is one personally I'm going to be keeping a close eye on. And next up, transitioning from the equipment slot, is the trophy system. Its recharge rate is fast, and its description is deployable autonomous defense system that destroys up to 3 nearby pieces of equipment and projectiles, also known as like rockets or noob tubes. The trophy system was always super nice if you were taking over objectives such as like headquarters that is coming back, or maybe even hardpoint, when you know that the enemy team is just gonna like spam grenades at you. And last up in the field upgrades is the deployable cover. This one's recharge rate is also fast, and its description is a portable, rapidly deployable ballistic cover. From what we've been told by the people who have played the game so far, the deployable cover doesn't take up that much space, as in it's not very tall, and also, of course, there is no microwave attached to it. My only concern is people standing behind this with an LMG like they did in Black Ops 2, and I still have a little PTSD from that. You know, the people with the LSAT tracker set, I really don't want that playstyle to return. If you guys remember earlier in the video, we were talking about the tune-up perk in the slot 1. The tune-up perk actually increases your recharge rate of these field upgrades by 50%. Alright everyone, I think that's going to wrap up this video on perks, gun perks, and field upgrades. If you made it to this point in the video, you are awesome. And go ahead and leave a comment down in the comment section that just says, I made it. As well as maybe give me some information about what you're really looking forward to when it comes to perks, gun perks, or field upgrades. Do you guys have any hesitations? Is there any things you would like to see in this list that didn't make it? Is there anything on this list that you would just not like to see in the game? If so, be sure to let me know. Also, I'd like to remind you guys, if you're not subbed already, if we reach 1,000 subscribers, we are going to be giving away a copy of this game. To enter, it is super easy. All you gotta do is like this video, be a subscriber, and when it comes time, if we have reached that goal, that is a list of people I'm going to be pulling from. My most recent videos are going to be popping up on the screen about now. Thank you guys for joining me. This has been Demise. We'll see you guys later.